Mike Martin's response part one. This is a sort of bit in the middle of the video you're going to want to watch, which was going to be part two. This is now part two. So the one telling you where you should be buying, what you should be buying, is going to be number three. But this is just an update to something that I said in the video yesterday, which, bear in mind, I did this video a week ago and only uploaded it yesterday. This is to do with the changes to the first home buyers grant in Australia. So I said in the video yesterday, well, I'll just read it to you first. So new home boost 50k to home builders proposed as RBA raises property concerns. Buyers of freshly built homes would get a $50,000 cheque from the Morrison government under a $2.5 billion plan from the Property Council to kickstart the economy amid Reserve Bank warnings the housing sector faces an extended period of pain, which I call fucking bullshit on that, okay? I've been calling bullshit on that for some time now. Now, if it wasn't coronavirus, it would just be some other fucking thing. It doesn't matter what it is, okay? Plenty of times in recent history, money has come out of the stock market, it's gone into the property market. It's almost a normal sort of a thing. So I'll finish reading this. The council also wants the abolition of stamp duty, the broadening of GST, and a welcome migration campaign aimed at luring foreigners into Australia. On Wednesday, the group said without change, the residential sector would weigh on the economy in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. So, I mean, you can read the article. There's a link there. Just Google Brisbane Times. It's in the Sydney Morning Herald. It's in a lot of papers. So I'll put the link in the description. And now I'll just say a few things. So back when it changed last time, the grant went from, it basically doubled, and then they applied it to existing property, which is what I said, right? So you've also got a situation where couples, a single person right now can withdraw 10 grand pre and post financial year, which is June, July, 30th of June, 1st of July. They get 10 grand out before, 10 grand after. Now, if that's a couple, that's 10 plus 10 times 2. So you're talking 20 grand by 2. So hypothetically, you've got two people with a reduction in income of 20% or more, or unemployed for whatever reason. You pull your super out. You get 40 grand as a couple, right? You live on rice and noodles. Live in a fucking car. It doesn't really matter. You get your 40 grand. You add it to your 50,000. You then have $90,000 to put to a new home, okay? So to Mike Martins and all these fucking idiots on the internet and in the Facebook comment sections and whatever, they have no property, have no interest in property, have no fucking knowledge of anything property, anything, or knowledge of anything at all, talking doom and gloom. This is the perfect storm for the property market. And I say that in a way where we're going to see a transfer of wealth like we've never seen since the end of World War II. And that's the baby boomers. This is the type of money is about to flow into the hands of property owners in Australia. This is not a time to be sitting on the sidelines listening to all these fucking idiots on YouTube, Facebook, wherever, all the comments. It's 80, 90, 95% of the comments on Facebook, all the financial pages, which I used to have a news app on my phone, and I used to download 100 newspapers, and I'd get a flight somewhere and I'd read all the financial newspapers. And then I figured out I could do it on Facebook. And that was good for about 2 or 3 years until all the fuckwits discovered they could do it too. So now I have to read through 100 comments to get to the 2, if I'm lucky, that are worth fucking reading. And it's depressing that people are listening to people like Mike fucking Martins telling people who live in fucking Canada and run a comic book store, toy store, whatever the fucking store it is. He knows nothing about Australian property. He knows nothing. He couldn't understand the benefits of buying his own business residence and then living in the back of it and working out of the front of it. He couldn't get that in his head. I told him to do it at the time. I believe he got booted out of the place and had to find a new residence. I don't know the full situation, but he couldn't fathom on a business level why you wouldn't buy your commercial property and then have, then own it, own the building, maybe rent out part. He couldn't fathom that. So why are Australians, and there's a fucking lot of Australians listening to this guy, taking notice of someone in fucking Canada who has no knowledge of this market, no knowledge of the prices, the affordability, you can cherry pick the shit, which I've talked about in the first video, but you do not know the market like the people that are heavily involved in this market do. So I live, breathe, and eat this shit. This is all I do, okay? So ignore me, fucking listen to me. I really don't give a fuck. My life is not going to change, only for the better. I don't get paid anything for sharing this shit. It's just when I listen to this fucking Mike Martin's guy, and he's a nice enough guy, he's just got no fucking idea, right? It just annoys the crap out of me, because how many people, like that Stephen fucking Keane, who I said yesterday to Nathan Birch, I said the guy couldn't pick the weather, he couldn't forecast the weather in the middle of a fucking thunderstorm, is what I said about Stephen Keane. So I'm now going to play the video where I said what's just happened in this article to you, and I'm going to leave it at that. Then I'm going to do part 3, which is going to tell you which property to buy, like in Queensland specifically. That's where the big money is going to be made. Not so much Sydney or Melbourne. This part of the cycle is going to be Brisbane. So Brisbane, southeast Queensland, or Queensland in general, but southeast Queensland around Brisbane. Sunny Coast, Gold Coast, Logan, Ipswich, Brisbane, Redcliffe, Caboolture, anywhere in that kind of area is going to do very, very well. So I'm just going to play you the bit of a rant there. I'm just going to play you this video I did and uploaded yesterday. Now, bear in mind, I did this a fucking week ago, and I had issues with my fucking internet and all kinds of problems with some stupid app I couldn't get to work. Here's what I said yesterday, and I'm going to leave it at that. And then I'm going to do a part 3 explaining those things. I'm jumping all over the place. This isn't scripted. I haven't written out a thing to talk about. I've just got this data. So you can see the 91 recession. I can't remember what that was. Anyway, property grinded higher, slowly. Now, this was a big one. There's 2 things happened here in this period. Now, this is what I'm expecting to happen again. Now, what happened here? We had this 50% discount on capital gains. They had big capital gains tax for a while, so that might have caused the slight upturn just there. The Gold Coast to Brisbane Highway completed. So again, you could say that was a contributing factor to this next thing. So what is not listed on here, and it happened about, don't quote me on this, but it happened about probably, I'm going to say, probably there. Okay, so what happened there was the introduction of the first homeowner. Well, there was always a first homeowner grant. What they did was they doubled the value of it, and then they applied it to existing property. So there's 2 policy changes there, which were at a median price of what, 200,000 that happened in this area. Okay, so 2 changes. The first homeowner grant, I think it was 10, it went to 20, or it might have been 15. I can't remember it so far back. I can't remember. And then the other big change was applying that to existing property. So you could go and buy. Back then, existing properties were dearer than the new. Because they're established suburbs. Now it's the other way. The new properties are actually dearer than the established suburbs. So back then you were getting 600-800 metres square worth of land. Now you're getting like 300-400 metres square. It's basically a house. There's no land now. But that led to a doubling of prices in like no time at all. So that single policy change to the first home buyers grant back then, which is stimulus, okay. You can see what prices did. They went from 2 to 4. Okay, now I'm expecting, this only goes to 2015. I'm going to try and get an updated one. Prices are around about, probably a little bit higher, probably close to 600 now. Median price, maybe 650. But I'm going to try and get a newer piece of information, which maybe I can share with you later. So you can see the stimulus that is being pumped into the market. It's way, way higher than this. And they're already talking about changes to the first home buyer grant right now, presently. So you're going to see this happen again. And people can say, well, how can prices go from $500 to $1 million? Well, it happened in Sydney, it's happened in Melbourne, it happens everywhere. Okay, it's not uncommon to any real estate market for a house price to double every 10 to 12 years. It's roughly, it might be 8 to 12, it depends where you look. And it's basically to do with the cost of money, and the cost of money is tied to interest rates. So if interest rates go from 7% to 3%, weekly payment, which is actually all people care about, is the weekly affordability figure, which is back to here. So house price to income ratio. You know, people do this calculation in their heads, right? People know that they earn, let's say back then it might have been $600 a week. Now they know in the top of their heads, whether they admit it or not, they know that they can afford $200 to $250 a week or whatever it is for a home to buy, and that figure is a constant. So if they're earning $800 a week, it might be $250, it might be $300, $900,000. It's everyone has a figure in their head based on their income of what they can afford to pay per week. The final purchase price of a house, although people look at it, it's actually not the main criteria of buying a house. It's actually the weekly payment. So you'll go up to, most people will go up to just about their maximum, nearly their maximum borrowing capacity within reason. Some people will max it out straight away and go bankrupt. Other people will probably go to like 70% or 80% of what they can afford, what they're approved for, which is probably sensible for a first property. And they base it on that weekly payment. So when you've got a $500,000 house that someone can afford and the interest rate goes from 4% to 2%, they can now afford a $700,000 or $800,000 house. So what happens is these buyers feel like millionaires even though they don't own anything yet, because they can now afford a $700,000 house. And they bid the price of real estate up to match the weekly payment that they could afford previously based on a percentage of their disposable income. So it's not going to matter. It's nearly pointless to look at the price of a house in every country. You really need to be looking at what people can afford and what interest rates are doing. And I'll just see if I can bring up. I'll leave that there. There's a lot more to that. You can watch in part one of the video. It was a bit all over the place. I didn't have internet access when I did it, so I just had to use files and shit I had on my computer already. So I'm going to do the part 3 of this video where I go into like much greater detail about where people could potentially look to buy. And what I say is actually different to a lot of the property spruiking guys. I see them picking stuff that's either highly negative geared or, you know, really close to CBDs. And most of those properties, if you start to get 2, 3, 4 of them, they start to become a money pit because you're not getting any income from them. Most of them are neutral or negative geared from the start. So I'm looking at stuff in the outer rings, and that's really all I want to know about, unless it's for my own place, which I'll use different criteria. But I can show you, you know, houses you can buy between anywhere from $200,000 to $400,000 using this $50,000 plus the super thing. You know, potentially $90,000 for a new home that you're about to get. And I'll do the third video where I go over, I'll probably go over like 30 properties in different regions and talk about the different regions and the advantages and disadvantages, and you know, whether you, the other way is to just completely ignore the grant and buy existing now, and you're still going to get the benefit of this. You're still going to get the benefit of what this is going to do to all prices, not just new homes. It's going to drive up the price of all houses, with maybe the exception of you know, high-rise units on the Gold Coast and stuff like that, because that will be subdued, I would say, for a little while longer, because there is a, you know, there's no doubt there is a longer-term tourism sort of recession happening now. But as far as freestanding homes, you know, units in complexes, stuff like that, there's a world of other stuff in there that's probably not going to be that affected in the short run, and will be massively affected in the long run by the changes to these few policies I've been talking about in this video. All right, I'll leave the rest for the next video. Thanks for watching.